Good morning. Good morning to everyone out in the internet that is streaming in with us. Glad to have you with us as well. This morning we're on the lesson for Cornerstone. God offers salvation through faith in Jesus alone. So good morning. Let's get started with a word of prayer. And I'm going to dive into this introduction, which I hopefully have not overdone in trying to lead us into this lesson. So, so thank you for this day. Thank you for your word. Lord, we just pray that you guide us and direct us, that you speak to us with your word. And that we come out of it learning something as we move forward here and serving you, Lord. And we pray in Jesus' name. So, this lesson is covering in Luke 20, verses 9 to 19. Will be our focus in today's study. We said many of us have ignored a warning issued or a directive given and faced the consequences. Think about a time you ignored the wisdom of someone who was trying. Oh my, sorry. Who was trying to help you. What factors contributed to your ignoring them?
Stubbornness.
Oh, good. Stubbornness, yes. Any others? So someone's trying to help you. They're providing their wisdom, but you ignore it. What factors caused you to ignore them?
Maybe pride.
Maybe pride. Maybe we don't want to accept what they have to say. Maybe they're just a know-it-all in our heart. Prove them different. So there's many different aspects of that, right?
That's not the way we've always done it.
Oh, that's another good one. That's not the way we've always done it. So ignoring God's warnings and his son have far greater consequences. The central message of the Bible is that God offers salvation through faith in Jesus alone. Excuse me, Miss Hazel, did you bring a donut for me too? Just wondering, that donut looks really good. I'm sorry. I couldn't help that. That was just nice. Okay, so ignoring the gospel puts us in danger of facing judgment, but forgiveness is available for those who turn to Jesus, okay? So the entire passage here that we're skimming over, I will say, it covers from Luke 20, verse 1 to 21, verse 38. And within these passages, Jesus' confrontation with the Jewish leaders, it did not begin with the cleansing of the temple. So, but the action certainly accelerated this conflict with the Jews. So, within Luke and Matthew, it doesn't give a chronology of when Jesus went and cleared this temple. So we know that he rode in on the donkey, right? And somewhere in that process is where he cleansed the temple, right? And get out of here to my Father's house. So in Mark, it says Jesus entered, read that one. I'm going to try to read some of these in lieu of passing the microphone around if we can. Jesus entered Jerusalem and went to the temple. He looked around at everything, but it was late. It was already late, so he went out to Bethany with the 12. So after the ride ended in to Jerusalem, he went to the temple, looked, and then left. It was late in the evening. Let's go have dinner. Let's go relax with him. Most of all, with Jesus, that was a pattern of prayer, right? Being filled with the Holy Spirit with prayer for doing things. The next day, as Jesus and the disciples were leaving Bethany, they were hungry. We get to the fig tree and the story of the fig tree. Not far away, he saw the fig tree, and it was covered with leaves. And he went to find out if it had any fruit. When he reached it, he found nothing but leaves. It was not the season for figs. Then Jesus said to the tree, may no one ever eat fruit from you again. And his disciples heard him say it. When Jesus reached Jerusalem, he entered the temple area. He began chasing out those who were, sorry, my writing's a little small here, who were buying and selling there. He turned over the tables and the people who were exchanging money. He also turned over benches of those who were selling them. He would not allow anyone to carry items for sale through the temple courtyards. Then he taught them. He told them, it is written that the Lord said, my house will be called a house where people from all nations can come and pray. But you have made it a den for robbers. The chief priests and the teachers of the law heard about this. They began looking for a way to kill Jesus. They were afraid of him because the whole crowd was amazed at his teaching. When evening came, Jesus and his disciples left the city. So we can see the progression here. It's the next day when Jesus went back. So I would say it was probably so he could get in prayer and be full. So looking at this order, it kind of helps us see that Jesus wasn't just doing this at a whim, that he was more of a deliberate establishment of he's the Messiah. It's not an emotional impulse. So this week's study focuses on that parable in Luke 29 and 19. The story begins in verses 1 through 8, which is where part of my introduction here, I wanted to add that in. So, stuff a little out of order, I apologize. So, in that 1 to 8, one day Jesus was teaching the people in the temple court. He was preaching the good news to them. The chief priests and the teachers of the law came up to him. The came with them. Tell us by what authority you are doing these things. They all said, who gave you this authority? Jesus replied, I will ask you a question. Tell me, was John's baptism from heaven or did it come from men? They talked to each other about it, and he said, if we say from heaven, he will ask, why didn't you believe him? But if we say from men, all the people will throw stones at us and kill us. They believe that John was a prophet. So they answered Jesus, we don't know where John's baptism came from. Jesus said, then I won't tell you what authority I am doing these things either. So their leaders, in other words, for them, Jesus was just Nazareth. He didn't have any education. I mean, what kind of degree does he have? I mean, who ordained him? Was it the Baptist Association? Who ordained him to be teaching like this? So I want to zero in on the verses 5 and 6, where Jesus said, why didn't you believe in them? If they acknowledge John's message from God, then the real question is, why didn't you obey? So that's the real question. So if they said it's from men, then that would make John just a professional preacher. And the people would be upset with that. They believed he was. So over the rest of the span here, with between the chapters 20 and 21, there was a series of confrontations that followed through here that pitted the religious leaders against Jesus. Okay, so the first one we talked about, his Second was the taxation, where Jesus overcame those with the taxation by placing them at odds with the Romans and the Jews. The third was the reversed objection by the Sadducees regarding resurrection. He taught about the nature of the Messiah. Each of these encounters further claimed his rights as the Messiah. And then finally, let's see. Right. And then finally, Jesus described the end of the world, his second coming. The temple would be destroyed in Jerusalem. And there would be false messiahs and tumultuous conditions. And he would return at just the right time. Okay, so that was all of these verses. I'm moving and focusing in on this lesson. We start with the servants. So the first verse is there, verses 9 to 12. Maybe we can get some volunteer readers to read the next two sections out here. So the first one as we go in here, starting on the servants. No volunteers?
You want to read verse number 2?
No, I'm not.
Because you got verse number 2, you got verse number 3. Anybody want to volunteer verse 3? All right, thank you.
Just the last we can get a raise with the microphone, get the microphone around. We have the second and the third reading. I'll read the first one just to give that leeway in there for time. So the first one goes verses 9 to 12. Jesus went on to tell the people a story. A man planted a vineyard, he said. He rented it out to some farmers. Then he went away for a long time. At our time, he sent a servant to the renters. They were supposed to give him some of the fruit of the vineyard. But the renters beat the servant. Then they sent him away with nothing. So the man sent another servant. They beat that and treated him badly. They also sent him away with nothing. The man sent a third servant. The renters wounded him and threw him out. So in this parable, Jesus' way of teaching principles, right? He's telling this is not real people. Okay, this is not a real vineyard. This was just a story told to explain these principles. And I know for some of you scholars in the Bible that I may be getting a little bit cynical, but I'm trying to cover the span of everyone, including those who may be tuning in to us and listening out there. Get in that habit of getting a little more details from the Friday night Bible study where English is not the first language, so I want to skip over some things. So in this parable that Jesus is telling, a man planted the vineyard. That man is God. It's referring to God. And the vineyard, he's referring to God's people, which in this case were the Jews more directly that he was speaking to, right, in Jerusalem. So he rented it out to some farmers. So who might you think the farmers would be? Religious leaders. Those who were supposed to be teaching God. Those who were supposed to be leading God's people to follow, to be obedient to him. Now, these leaders, we get to the bottom of it and we find out they realized that this was being told about. So you say, well, wait a minute. We're studying in the New Testament here, so how could they know? The answer to that is in Isaiah chapter 5, verses 1 to 7. So, in Isaiah, sing a song for the Lord. He is the one I love. It's a song about his vineyard, Israel. Oh, do you think they ever read that before?
They might be able to sing that song.
Yeah, they ever read that scroll? Maybe that scroll got lost somewhere. He dug up the soil and removed the stones. He planted the very best vines in it. He built the lookout tower there. He also cut out a wine press for it. Then he kept looking for a crop of good grapes. But the vineyard produced only bad fruit. So the Lord said, people of Jerusalem and Judah, you be the judge between me and my vineyard. What more could I have done for my vineyard? I did everything I could. I kept looking for a crop of good grapes. Now, back to the parable. What is the crop of good grapes? What do the good grapes represent? God's people. Exactly. People that are obedient to God. People that have believed in Jesus. So he kept looking for the good grapes, but only bad grapes. So why did it produce only bad ones? Now I will tell you what I am going to do to my vineyard. I will take away its fence, and it will be destroyed. I will break down its wall, and people will walk all over it. I will turn my vineyard into a dry and empty desert. It will not be pruned or taken care of. Thorns and bushes will grow there. I will command the clouds to rain on it. The vineyard of the Lord, who rules over all, is the nation of Israel. The people of Judah are the garden he takes delight. Takes delight in, sorry. He kept looking for them to do what is fair. But all he saw was blood being spilled. He kept looking for them to do what was right. But all he heard were cries of suffering. So I'm sure these religious leaders never heard of that before. So I would imagine this is really why things got sticky here. So then in verses 10 to 12 here, the servants, God sent prophets to remind Israel. So all of these servants represented the prophets, and the mistreatment that the prophets received over the years. Isaiah is one of those, isn't it? And so these prophets were coming to do what? Why was God sending these?
The shepherds weren't doing their job. The leaders weren't doing their job. The prophets were to bring them back. Bring
Oh, the leaders weren't doing their job. Oh.
That's bad.
Bad fruit. Bad fruit producing bad fruit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dropping this all around.
Okay, so oh, wait a minute. I have a note here, like Isaiah and John the Baptist, who sought to call Israel to repentance and faith. All right, so what are some ways people mistreat God's ambassador?
Ignore them.
Oh, ignore them. That's a major.
Mock them.
Mock them.
Jail
Oh, kill them even. Yeah.
them. Imprison them.
Prison them. So how about a little bit more subtle ways? What I'm thinking here is, what if we were one-on-one and saying, hey, Pastor Matthew, I mean, Have I really done anything wrong with you? I mean, in your book, I mean, have I done anything to hinder what you're doing? If I did that, I might get something I wasn't thinking about, right? Might be a little bit smaller than kill him or put him in jail. It might still be something that's hindering God. That's unnecessary headaches there. Unnecessary headaches? Pastor, you ever have anything like that?
Yeah, we're on occasion, right? Nothing horrible.
So I just thought I would try to bring that up a little to make it a little more personal or more to this time and how this relates. Because we can be hinders or create a little headache for our investors. In what way should we accept our roles as God's servants in taking His word to our world?
Say that again.
In what ways should we accept our roles as God's servants in taking His word to our world?
Thoughtfully. Thoughtfully.
Thoughtfully.
Thinking through it. What does it mean? How can I do it?
What does it mean? How can I do it?
And then just do it. Action.
Actionably.
Any others? Prayer. Prayer, getting spiritually ready for doing it.
Lila.
I think there was something wrong.
Whether it's from Sunday school class or sermon.
Repeat her answer so people can hear it online. We can't hear her online.
I was gonna repeat it.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Try it. Well, we're just not gonna get the normal long answer. So where we at here so far, for those of you out there, is by taking learning in the lessons or in the sermons and applying that. And primarily that taking it to heart.
Before you can act on it, even before it's be ready to.
I face the stream.
Take it to heart. And then
Okay.
take it to prayer. And then
Even
put it in action.
Kim,
Mhm.
Scott, works.
Okay.
It's really,
You have to actually take it to heart, in other words, is what she's saying, before you can actually go in and pray for it. You have to take it and accept it.
What was wrong with the stream?
it kept falling away.
That's it.
It will not now.
Any others?
Thank you.
And the audio.
Anybody ready to read the next section on the Son, verses 13 to 16a?
Sound system.
Making it sound hollow.
Do we have a microphone on?
I got a microphone and I haven't turned it on yet because I was talking about a streaming tech issue. Ready?
Okay.
Set.
Technical difficulties a
Go.
couple seconds away.
Then the owner of the vineyard said, "What shall I do? I will send my son, whom I love. Perhaps they will respect him." But when the tenants saw him, they talked the matter over. "This is a big error. Let's kill him, and the inheritance will be ours." So they threw him out of the vineyard and killed him. What then will the owner of the vineyard do to them? He will come and kill them and give the vineyard to others.
Thank you. So we start off with, I have a son and I love him. Of course, we know that in America, love is such a broad word compared to their words. And the tone here, is that he is the unique one. He's the only one, my son, that I truly love, or I deeply love. We know phileo love. I believe you would call it that, where it's more of a friendly type love, and ours usually has strings attached to it. You don't say something bad to me, or if you don't, there's usually a string attached to our type of love for this part, or here and there. Where God's love is unconditional love, a deeper love. So what they were planning here is, the renters saw the sun and they talked about it over, right? So here, the law says if there's no air, they're assuming there's no God here now, right? Once they kill him. So if there's nobody owning this property, anybody can claim it. So if we just get rid of this sun, then everything's ours. We're in control. They're assuming there's no God here. We're going to kill him. There's no one to take over here. We're in control. It's ours. By Jewish law, now that's what I'm referring to. So it was physically a piece of property, and it didn't belong to anyone. Someone could take it over. So they were thinking in those terms that they would have
Squatters' rights.
Yeah.
squatters' rights. There you go. There you go. I'm sorry.
One of the things I found interesting when looking at this verse is, the American culture, when people kind of philosophers, oh, God is dead. And there's this philosophical movement, this theological movement, there is no God, God is dead. And that's in fact what they're doing in this parable. Yeah, the master is dead. Obviously, he'd come himself. He was really here. He sends his son, take out the son, we're good. But it's, as we see in the parable, it's detrimental to have that view that, oh, God is dead. He's not active in history. He doesn't do anything. I'm just going to do what I want. Myself.
We'll just kill him and we can do what we want. That's it. So what did the sending of the Son reveal about the character of the Father? He had a vested interest in the vineyard. And others? He is in control. His will be done. What does the parable teach about our response to the Father? We look at this parable. What does it teach us about our response?
I think kind of related to both of the questions, it teaches that we are accountable for our actions. That we need to be very thoughtful about what we do because there is the master that we have to give an account to.
And if we reject him, we will be in the same boat as these leaders, right? He will reject them as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, on the next verses, I'm zipping through this. I'll tell you what, when you make notes and you think, oh my goodness, I have too much material here. I'm going to run over the time.
You have a straw hat and cane?
It's recorded.
Uh-oh. Well, then I can go back and see how good Well,
No, don't look at it.
I don't look that goofy on the sound, right? Thank you. Okay, then we're down to the stuff. The final verses of our 16b or 19. Did we have a volunteer that's going to read it? Would you please?
When the people heard this, they said, God forbid. Jesus looked directly at them and asked, then what is the meaning that which is written? The stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. Everyone who falls on that stone will be broken to pieces. Anyone on whom it falls will be crushed. The teachers of the law and the chief priests looked for a way to arrest him immediately because they knew he had spoken this parable against them, but they were afraid of the people.
Okay, so just prior to this was the ride into the triumphal entry. And when the people heard this, we thought, this never happened. It's like, oh, you're going to take this away from me. Wait a minute. We're not going to have to be your chosen people. You're special. Have all the special benefits here. And so if we, the other one I was going back to was 1938. Blessed is the King. This is what the people were shouting, by the way. And these leaders know this. They heard this. Blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord, which is Psalm 118:26. May there be peace and glory in the highest heaven. This is what's making the religious leaders nervous too, because they were just shouting this. But we hope this never happens, and you're not going to take it away from us, so that we won't get all these special privileges. Okay, then, oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry. Applying this Psalm 118:22 to himself, Jesus is claiming to be the Messiah. So now he's really overstepped it. I mean, he's really in left field. This is a coup we got to take care of. He's going to wreck everything we have. All this work we've done to build this, and we've got all these people following us, and they're going to turn and follow him now. We'll have nothing. So in the Old Testament, the stone is a familiar symbol of God and the Messiah. So in Isaiah, again, if I may, chapter 8:14-15, that I will be a holy place of safety for you. But for many people in Israel and Judah, I will be a stone that causes them to trip. I will be a rock that makes them fall. And for the people of Jerusalem, I will be a trap and a snare. Many of them will trip. They will fall and be broken. They will be trapped and captured. Gosh, I don't know if these guys ever read those verses either about the blindness of the power they have and the finances they have from the position they're in now, just totally putting them to rejecting things that they know. Now, a pastor would never do that. You hope so, right? There, and the one thing I did want to say there is pastors, as holy and high as we have a tendency to hold them up there. They're human just like me and you. So they're subject to making mistakes. So, right. So I just want to say that because I know that so many people put the pastor or the Bible teacher, for example, at such a high standard up there that they can't make mistakes. And they do make mistakes. That's why we need to be praying for them as well, as ourselves here. So anyway, a little sidetrack. Apologize for the sidetrack. But as I read through this and went through this lesson, those are the kind of things I thought about. I tried to kind of answer these questions from my own perspective here to try to throw some more thoughts into what we do and how we take this and actually apply it in our lives. So we can go back and say that a lot of this was Old Testament, a lot of this was in with the prophets and whatever, but this is all communication to us. His word telling us what we need to do and providing guidelines. So why did the builders reject the cornerstone, Jesus?
Well, it's interesting, even in today's society, the cornerstone in construction set the entire home on based on that cornerstone. And its significance for the way the house is built. Have a proper cornerstone.
Thank you. All right, I forgot to bring that up. The cornerstone, as you were saying there, is the foundation or the primary basis for building a home to begin with, or to build a building as they were building. So that cornerstone was the reference point for the other three corners of whatever you build. And I'm not a carpenter, I'm not or know that much, but I would venture to say that's still the same today, or then that house wouldn't quite be level. You have to take that one primary corner and the other three have to be set with that corner. So in this day, that's what they were doing, as you were saying, that they were taking that cornerstone, this cornerstone was the primary stone that would not move. And then the remainder of the building built on that basis. The other stones were established at the correct height of that cornerstone that would not move. So thank you very much. So now, why did the builders reject Jesus, the cornerstone?
He undermined their authority.
Undermine their authority.
The Jewish leaders.
You mean I'm not the guy that knows it all anymore? Is that what that means?
Usually believe that it's not fit to be that foundation. So when you have, in this case, Jesus being the cornerstone, well, if you reject that, you're rejecting Jesus, or this case, as well as God, to be the foundation for your life, to be what determines who you are and what you become. So in this case, to reject that cornerstone is to reject God himself. And to say, God, I know better than you. I can figure out for me.
All right, good. So rejecting the cornerstone would be saying you don't think that cornerstone is going to stay. You don't think it's firm enough or the correct foundation to base everything on to begin with. So by rejecting it, rejecting Jesus as the cornerstone is I don't think he's the right thing for me. Right? I don't think he's reliable. I can do what I want. I know what's best for my life. I read all those how-to books, right? So that in effect captured all you said.
Reject this cornerstone is to reject God himself.
Rejecting God himself. Any other thoughts? Pretty well sums it up, right? Any icing on the cake? Any candles? Thank you very much for the answer. I do appreciate it. How can we demonstrate that Jesus is our?
Obedience.
Sorry?
Obedience.
Obedience, yes.
Back to the construction thing, building our house,
Building our house?
Yeah.
Okay, back.
building our house, having it grow as we grow. Taking people along with us, building our house.
Taking people along with us, grow as we grow, building our own house.
Back to the cornerstone idea, well, Jesus is my cornerstone. Every other stone needs to become or in line with him. And if it's not, well, Jesus doesn't change, the other stones for the house change. And to have the humility and willingness to put in the work to change.
Right. Once you get a microphone, after all your work. Somebody has one that's not turned on. So.
We're ready when you are, please.
Repeat that, please.
Going back to the cornerstone idea, construction concept, if Jesus is that cornerstone that everything else is built on, then it doesn't change. And whatever else, whatever other built rock stones that you have in your life that is building your house, that then needs to change to become or in line with that base cornerstone, because it's the foundation stone, it's your starting point. And so therefore to have the humility, to have the willingness to put in the work to change so that it is in line with that cornerstone with Christ.
And if I could repeat the other that you said, that we need to be aligned with that cornerstone. And that takes work. It takes work for us to get ourselves and be willing to align with Jesus.
And it doesn't always feel good.
Well, thank you. We're gonna finish a little early. I can't hem-haw and do any more except for the sorry. You have a substitute that I can use for. So my little deal on that was very much the same. It's a matter of us getting and telling others and inviting others to come and be a part of what we're trying to do. Such as the trail line and soon to kick off American Heritage Girls and any other way that we can reach out and bring others into our fold to do exactly what you said, to build our house along with others coming along with us. So that's the fruit that our Father's looking for, the fruit of new souls coming and being disciples and us putting forth that extra effort in that time and whatever we need to do to help them grow as we help ourselves grow. And that's all I have to say about that. Any others? And we'll close off a little early here. You know, let's close in prayer. Our Father, Lord, thank you so much. We thank you for everyone being here, for those that are tuned in, listening to us here. We thank you for all the input. I think thank you for the involvement here in this lesson. We just pray that you've used it, Lord, to reach out and touch those you've chosen. You've used it, Father, to speak to us and guide us and direct us and help us, Father, as we try to mold ourselves to get out and to stretch and to not be like these Pharisees, Father, and just be a church closed within itself, but to be one that's reaching out and helping others to come and grow and get to know you, Father. And we pray in Jesus' name.
Amen. Thank you very much, Bill.